Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I have the following communication to make. Honorable members, you recall that the leader of the majority party tabled a written address of the Honorable Senator John Muhia Medu today morning when the Assembly sat for its 9:30 a.m. sitting. I did undertake when the address was tabled to give further directions this afternoon on how the Assembly shall consider and discuss the said address. Honorable members, Order 27 of our standing orders requires the Assembly to discuss the address of the Senator under a motion, that the thanks of Assembly be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in the address of the Senator. Honorable members, you agree with me that this motion is restrictive, for it does not allow the Assembly to make any other resolution except the conveyance of the Assembly's gratitude to the Senator for his address to this Assembly. Indeed, it is important that the Assembly register its gratitude to the Honorable Senator for finding time to address this Assembly. However, I am of the view that the Assembly's debate on the speech may elicit or require further resolutions thereon, other than the conveyance of vote of thanks to him. Honorable Member, it is stemming from this acknowledgement that I am persuaded that we need, moving forward, a different approach to our consideration of the Governor's or Senator's address to this Assembly. In this regard, it is my considered view that our committees have a fundamental role to play in interrogating the speech of the Governor or the Senator to the extent of their mandate, and in that regard, present additional recommendations as they may be deemed appropriate in connection with the speech. Honorable members, the resolutions may be directed to any person or office, including the county executive, that has a role to play in the realization or materialization of the public policy contained in the address, and may take different forms, including but not limited to an appeal or petition by these as the to any national agencies or office which has a role to play in the realization of the public policy contained in the address. Honorable members, having considered the said speech and going by this new Public Works, Roads, Transport, Housing and Energy. Number 2, the Committee on Water, Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources. Number 3, the Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. Number 4, the Committee on Health Services. Number 5, the Budget and Appropriation Committee. Number 6, the County Public Accounts and Investments Committee. And number 7, the Committee on Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services. The report may be titled, for instance, the report of the Committee on Public Works, Roads, Transport, Housing and Energy on public policy exposition in Senator's address to the Assembly on the 16th April 2024. And one of the recommendations that requires to be contained in the report is that a vote of the Assembly's thanks be recorded for the Honorable Senator's address to the Assembly on 16th of April 2024. Thank you, Honorable members. Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, statements. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have a statement request from Honorable Stephen Murithi Matimu, the MCA, County from Kara Ward.
Very well. Honorable Stephen Murithi Matimu, MCA, County Member from Kara Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for granting me this opportunity to seek Speaker, statement on status of water supply in Olkalau municipality from the chairperson, Committee on Water, Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources. Mr. Speaker, sir, I hereby seek a statement from the chairperson, Committee on Water, Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, addressing the following concerns. Aware that the Constitution recognizes that every person has a right to access of clean and safety water in adequate quantities and in right to reasonable standards of sanitation function bestowed upon the county governments. Further aware that both the national government and Nyandarua county government have been working with Olkalau Water and Sanitation Company, which is commonly referred to as Oluwasco, and Nyandarua Water and Sanitation Company, commonly known to us as Nyawasco, to distribute water to residents in Olkalau town, its environs, and all residents of Nyandarua County. Mr. Speaker, sir, concerned that the Department of Water, Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources has not provided reasonable explanation as to why there has been persistent water rationing. Further, the 500 standing charge has continued being charged despite new water tariffs being in place. Arising from the foregoing, I seek that the chairperson of this particular Committee on Water, Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources provide the following information. Mr. Speaker, sir, number one, the status of water boza in the county, and the amount of revenue the water boza has generated in the last 2 financial years. The justification for persistent water rationing in Olkalau town, the number of functional boreholes within Olkalau municipality, and a summary of boreholes that are solar powered and electricity powered. Whether the county government has considered engaging in any public-private partnership in regard to water distribution within Olkalau municipality and the status of the same. The status of implementation of the new water tariffs, and last but not the least, a list of all boreholes in the county and the status of each, including the management and the number of beneficiaries thereof. Mr. Speaker, sir, from the question that I have asked in this particular statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, it has come to my attention that the water boza that is an asset of this of our county has been laying in the roads department for the longest time possible. One of the measures that we have as a county is revenue collection, and I believe this is one of the things that has been raising revenue in our county. But the same has been lying at the county roads department. Mr. Speaker, sir, again, water tariffs were reviewed, and members of the municipality were told that you will be charged on what you consume. But what has been happening, Mr. Speaker, sir, currently is that the bills that the residents of Olkalau municipality are receiving, they're still receiving the old water tariffs that has a standing charge of 500 shillings. Mr. Speaker, sir, we also have a long, thorny issue that is affecting the residents of the municipality, Mr. Speaker, sir. And this is a matter of water rationing year by year, year by year. We want to know what measures is the government undertaking to ensure that there will be flow of adequate water to our homesteads, especially during the season that the rains below the normal rains that we receive in our county. Because of December, January, February, Mr. Speaker, sir, residents of Olkalau and especially the municipality area, they've been suffering so much in terms of water rationing. And at times, you find that they get water maybe once per week or twice per week on the health side. Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe that this committee will go ahead and they will respond in time so that, Mr. Speaker, sir, we can know which other step as an assembly we can take towards having a resolution on the same, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you very much.
The statement is duly sought. I refer the statement to the Committee on Water, Environment, Climate Change, and Natural Resource. Chairman. Chairman or Vice? Yes, Honorable Ibra. How much time do you need to...
Mr. Speaker, sir, on behalf of the committee, we may seek 45 days.
45 days. Clerk, be it on record that within 45 days, the chair will the report on the same. Let's have next order.
Order number 8, motions and bills. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have a procedural motion to be moved by Honorable Peter Gadungu Kamau, the Chairperson, Committee on Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services.
Yes, Honorable Gadungu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the following procedural motion that pursuant to Standing Orders 236, the motion that this House does adopt the report of the Committee on Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services on the Nyandarua County Capitation Policy Guidelines for Early Childhood Education 2024 as a report of the House and the recommendations therein as the resolutions of the House be exempted from all requirement of the Standing Order 55B that requires a notice of motion be given at least 1 day before the motion appears on the order paper. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I call Honorable Matimu to second.
Thank you, Honorable Matimu. I now propose the question, which is that the pursuant to that this House does adopt the report of the Committee on Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services on the Nyandarua County Capitation Policy Guidelines for Early Childhood Education 2024 as a report of the House and the recommendations therein as the resolutions of the House be exempted from the requirement of Standing Order 55B that requires a notice of motion be given at least 1 day before the motion appears on the order paper. Debate. I now put the question, which is that this House does adopt the report of the Committee on Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services on the Nyandarua County Capitation Policy Guidelines for Early Childhood Education 2024 as a report of the House and recommendations therein as a resolution of the House be exempted from the requirement of Standing Order 55B that requires a notice of motion be given at least 1 day before the motion appears on the order paper. May those of a similar opinion say aye. May those of a contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. Clerk, next order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, under the same order, we have a substantive motion to be moved by Honorable Peter Kamau, the Chairperson, Committee on Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services.
Yes, Honorable Peter Kamau Gadongo, member for Lishau Pondo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. And Mr. Speaker, sir, we go to the substantive motion. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the following motion that this House does adopt the report of the Committee on Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services on the Nyandarua County Capitation Policy Guidelines for Early Childhood Education for the year 2024 as a report of the House and the recommendation therein as the resolution of the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I go directly to the substantive motion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a committal of the policy to the committee. And Mr. Speaker, on the 26th March 2024, the Nyandarua County Capitation Policy for Early Childhood Education 2024 was tabled in the House by the leader of the majority party, Honorable Mwangi Nyaga. Consequently, it was referred to the Committee on Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services, pursuant to Nyandarua County Standing Orders number 200. The committee was directed to consider the policy and report to the House within 14 days. Though, Mr. Speaker, you had requested for 7. You were ready within 7 days. Honorable Speaker, the committee held a meeting on 27th day of March 2024 to peruse the policy and resolved to retreat and compile a report on the approval or disapproval of the policy. Mr. Speaker, the committee's establishment, the Committee on Education is mandated to investigate, scrutinize, review all county registration referred to it, evaluate relative successes of the department comparing results stated, vetting and reporting on appointments as required by the Assembly approval under the Constitution or any applicable. So, Mr. Speaker, the committee composition is myself as the chair, we have Patience Manga, who is the vice chair, Honorable Ben Getau, member for Shamata, Honorable Isaac Mbaya, member, Honorable Ajiku Kabiru, Honorable Joyce Monywa, Honorable Stephen Matimu, Honorable Kamwana Waruiru, and Honorable Dan Givinji as members. Secretariat is as stated, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to extend my special gratitude to the honorable members of the committee, whose commitment and inputs have been invaluable in the compilation of this report. We would also like to extend our gratitude to your office and the office of the clerk for making the entire report writing process a success. Finally, Honorable Speaker, it is my singular honor and distinguished duty on behalf of the committee on the Nyandarua County Capitation Policy Early Childhood Education 2022, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on Chapter 1 and the background to ECD education, Mr. Speaker, ECD covers a critical period from birth to 8 years of age, Mr. Speaker, a time when the foundation for learning, behavior, and health are established. The importance of ECD cannot be overstated, as it plays a crucial role in shaping a child's overall development. During this period, Mr. Speaker, significant brain development occurs, with neutral connections forming rapidly. ECD provides the environment and experience necessary to support this crucial stage of brain development. Therefore, child development and early childhood education are intricately linked Effective ECD programs are opportunities for children to explore, learn, and develop essential skills as language, cognitive abilities, social skills, and emotional regulations. These skills serve as the building blocks for future academic success, social interaction, and overall well-being, Mr. Speaker. By recognizing the significance of various ECD and investing in high-quality ECD programs, societies can lay a very strong foundation for children's lifelong learning and development. Honorable Speaker, there are numerous child development theories with a great impact on early childhood education. Knowledge on child development is vital. It provides information on child's development level in order to make education decisions. Honorable Speaker, among the psychologists who are influential in the ECD include James Piaget, the proposer of the cognitive development theory. Its key development theory that postulates that a child, through the following 4 stages, that is sensory motor stage 0 to 2 years, pre-operational stage 2 to 7 years, concrete operational stage 7 to 11 years, and formal operational stage, which is 11 and beyond. Mr. Speaker, through the research that I have done, and Honorable Kongo will agree, is that a brain child at 2 years is 3/4 the size of a mature person's brain, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, according to J. Piaget, who is...
Honorable Kongo, do you agree that? The chair said you agree that the child's brain is... Repeat that. That's quite interesting.
In 2 years' time, it's almost 3/4 grown to... When you grow up, you just grow a quarter from 2 years. So, Mr. Speaker, according to Jean Piaget, a child who is in pre-primary, that is PP1 and PP2, is in the second developmental stage, which is pro-operational. It is characterized by rapid language development and symbolic play. Despite the studies done by early childhood psychologists, Jean Piaget, Levi Vygotsky, and many other early childhood psychologists and theorists, early childhood education has not received the attention that it requires, Mr. Speaker. And I underline, it has not received the attention it requires, Mr. Speaker. Early childhood education in independence, in the pre-colonial period, ECD was the responsibility of the local community. Mothers and older children were given the role of taking care of children. From 0 to 3 years, they were primary caregivers. And that is according to Swadna et al., 2000-2008. Honorable Speaker, a formal Early Childhood Development Center was established in Kenya in the year 1940. It was intended for children with European and Asian descendants, Mr. Speaker. Later on, during the struggle of independence, the colonial government expanded the role of ECD centers to serve as homes for displaced children, especially in central Kenya. And Mr. Speaker, after independence, that is when ECD gained tremendously, among the successes being introduction of a preschool education project through a collaboration of the government and the Bernard Van Ree Foundation. The Kenya Institute of Education was charged with the administration of the preschool education project, Mr. Speaker. In 1984, Mr. Speaker, National Center for Early Childhood Education, NACESE, was established. It was established, the establishment saw the expansion of preschool education projects. Responsibility expanded to include formulation of curriculum of training and trainers. In 1985, district centers of early childhood education, DCESE, was formed. They were mandated to ensure overall administration of the primary education. Under the presidential circular, early education, childhood education was transferred from the Ministry of Culture and Social Services to the Ministry of Education. At that time, early childhood education was not prerequisite of joining class 1, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, it is during that years that we used to hold our hearts so that you could hold your ear. That was the qualification of going to class 1. Maybe many honorable members here, like Honorable Ben, might not know that we never used to do exams. Used to, I can demonstrate, Mr. Speaker, so that you could join class 1, Mr. Speaker.
Then it means it must have been very hard for you to join class 1.
Mr. Speaker, I have very long heart. So I joined in the time I was required to join, despite the failure of the education system to recognize early childhood as a requirement for advancing education. The state continued to advance the general welfare of the Kenyan children in 1990. So, Honorable Speaker, with the Constitution of 2010, after the promulgation of the Constitution, it is so primary education devolved to the county government now, as outlined in the Part 2 of the 4th schedule. And that every child has a right to, A, Mr. Speaker, name and nationality from birth, Mr. Speaker. And B, Mr. Speaker, free and compulsory basic education. So, Mr. Speaker, it means name, you should get a name, Mr. Speaker. Kasana tells me he got the Ndomo when he was in class 4. That is the honorable member for Magumu. Here in the county, Mr. Speaker, the Nyandarua County Assembly enacted the Nyandarua County Early Childhood Act 2017. The rule was enacted with the following objective, Mr. Speaker. A, Mr. Speaker, to promote the right of every child to accessible, free and compulsory pre-primary education, to promote the welfare and best interest of the child. C, Mr. Speaker, to ensure equitable and accessible early childhood development programs and pre-primary education. That is the PP1 and PP2, Mr. Speaker, to promote quality and relevant education, to protect every child against discrimination, to protect the right of every child to equal standard of education, including medium instruction used in school for all children of the same educational level, to ensure human dignity, integrity of persons engaged in the management of ECD and pre-primary education institutions, to promote the right of the child to protection, participation, development, and survival. Honorable Speaker, 2017, the Minister of Education introduced a new system known as CBC, Mr. Speaker. That is why the members calls me the chair for CBC, Mr. Speaker. The new education system, Mr. Speaker. This system structured a 2-6-3-3 and acknowledges pre-primary education as a fundamental stage within the education framework under the CBC. Pre-primary education has become compulsory, ensuring that every child, both pre-primary 1, that is PP1 and PP2, before accessing primary education. And Mr. Speaker, before PP1, we have what we call the pre-group, despite the fact that it has not been recognized. Honorable Speaker, despite introduction of the new education system in Kenya, which recognized the pre-primary school, that is PP1, PP2 as key stages in basic education, the sector is still facing numerous challenges as expounded here below, Mr. Speaker. And one, Mr. Speaker, is inadequate funding. Honorable Speaker, since devolution, funding of early childhood education programs in the county has continued to dwindle over the years comparatively, Mr. Speaker. Pre-primary programs funding, Mr. Speaker. In the year 2019 and 2020, we had a feeding program of 20 million, Mr. Speaker, and we had furniture and fittings worth 11 million, Mr. Speaker. In the following year, that is where we have said it continued dwindling. In the following year, we had feeding program of 20 million, and that is 2020-2021, and 800,000, Mr. Speaker, a whole county, 800,000 to cater for acquisition of teaching and learning materials, Mr. Speaker, a big joke, Mr. Speaker. And in 2022-2023, Mr. Speaker, we had 10 million, and 700,000 was meant for teaching and learning materials. Furniture and fittings, Mr. Speaker, 0. Teaching and training, Mr. Speaker, 1 million. Share that within the 25 wards. But at least we made some progress because we got 41 no, sorry, we got it, it was 11,700,000. And in 2023-2024, Mr. Speaker, in feeding program, the budget is at 0, Mr. Speaker. The capitation, Mr. Speaker, now which we want to pass this motion, we have put it at 10 million, which is some very meager funds, but at least it's good for a start. And on teachers training, Mr. Speaker, still at 1 million shillings. So cumulatively, Mr. Speaker, in 4 financial years, and members, I would like you to do these calculations. We have only injected 44 million in ECD center and 899,376. Mr. Speaker, we are not treating the ECD matter as if it's a devolved function, Mr. Speaker. We are taking it as a secondary matter, Mr. Speaker. If you compare bursary, in bursary, which is not a devolved function, Mr. Speaker, we usually give, like in the last financial year, we were at 186 million, Mr. Speaker. One financial year, if you go cumulatively, we have almost in this period spent slightly over 500 million shillings. Mr. Speaker, I just wish we had injected this money to build these young angels, Mr. Speaker. Despite ECD being the foundation level of competitive running, government funding per child capitation is not available, Mr. Speaker. Meanwhile, runners at the primary and secondary school levels receive an amount, Mr. Speaker. And I feel members should note this with a lot of emphasis. The primary and secondary school levels, they receive per yearly basis 1,420 and Kenya shillings 22,244 respectively, before we add them the bursary, Mr. Speaker, which is not a devolved function. It is worth noting that runners at the primary and secondary school levels can access bursaries from the national government constituency fund, that is NGCDF. They can receive county bursary fund, Mr. Speaker, among others, where our young angels receive 0, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, nonetheless, all is not lost for PPE runners in the county. In the financial year 2023-2024, the county government has appropriated Kenya shillings 10 million to be dispersed to the 24,658 runners, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, here we seem not to be heeding the call by Rigiji to increase the population. If these are the ECD students that we have, this implies that each child will benefit with 405 shillings per year, Mr. Speaker. 405. That is what we want to give as capitation. Whereas in bursary, we give up to a tune of 50,000 shillings to one child, Mr. Speaker, at times. So there is poor infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. This cannot be overemphasized. Members know. An ideal early childhood education center should have at least 2 classrooms to accommodate pupils in pre-primary 1 and pre-primary 2. The most unfortunate thing, Mr. Speaker, and the honorable members here will tell you, is that the PP1 and the PP2 are in one class. I have numerous case studies where in one class we are having 80 students, Mr. Speaker. These pupils are in different developmental stages, and thus the program and activities they are subjected to should differ accordingly. However, it is common practice in the county to have both classes merged due to lack of adequate classroom, Mr. Speaker. This is a disaster. Honorable Speaker, there are numerous classrooms in the county that lack proper ventilation, while others are in deplorable states. Additionally, a significant number of centers lack suitable furniture, Mr. Speaker. You can't believe there are students in those classes who are still sitting on soil, Mr. Speaker. They sit on the earth. Mr. Speaker, due to inadequate classrooms, and Mr. Speaker, the classes are not friendly. The child-friendly toilets. I have several diagrams. Members, you can access them through your tablets. The kind of toilets that we are having. Hazards, Mr. Speaker. Attached here is a ghastly sight of some of the centers in the county. Mr. Speaker, we are Brest County. if you have not corrected one of the kids inside the toilet, Mr. Speaker. If you check on those photos, it will tell you that, Honorable Joyce, that is in figure 2, ECD toilet in Ward Y. We don't want to say in which ward. Let us call it Ward Y. And in Ward A, an ECD toilet, Mr. Speaker, let us call it a toilet. But it is worse than a sheep shed, Mr. Speaker. Now, there is an ECD toilet in Ward B, Mr. Speaker. You can check it in your walls. So, Mr. Speaker, these are some of the things that we are having, and this is something we could cure using our capitation. At least, we say extraordinary times calls for extraordinary measures. And Mr. Speaker, we are equal to the task of correcting this anomaly, Mr. Speaker, through passing this bill, Mr. Speaker. Runners in the early childhood, Mr. Speaker, Group A, as postulated by a number of early childhood theorists, among them Friedrich Froebel, who stated that play is the highest expression of human development in childhood, for it alone is the expression of what is in a child's soul. Maria Montessori also emphasized self-directing learning, where the focus is in the child interacting with materials, with the teacher being a mere facilitator. Despite the importance of play in early childhood learning emphasized by these theorists, runners in the county lack adequate indoor and outdoor play materials. Additionally, there is a high teacher-child ratio in Nyandarua County, which has recorded an increasing enrollment of ECD runners as tabulated below, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yes, here we seem to have, we are changing, but not very much. I think with the alcohol bill, things will change. The enrollment was as follows: 2017-2018, we had 19,000 students, and 2018-2019, we had 20,000 students. 2019-2021, during Corona, we increased population, Mr. Speaker. We came to 21,214, and in 2021-2022, through the core of Rigiji, we went to 23. Now we are at 24,000, Mr. Speaker. That is in 2022-2023. The sources from the County Department of Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services. Honorable Speaker, the increased number of pupils necessitate a corresponding increase in the number of teachers. The county government has engaged PP school teachers on different terms as indicated below, and that is, we have teachers in job group K who are just 8. We have teachers in job group H who are 158. We have teachers in job group F 150, job group A 47, job group D 6, job group C 12, and we have contractual teachers, Mr. Speaker, who are 198. The county government has engaged 554 teachers, with 381 being permanent and pensionable, while 198 are on contractual basis. The figure results in a teacher-pupil ratio of 1 teacher, Mr. Speaker, is equal to 44. This exceeds the ratio recommended by the United Nations, which is a ratio of 1:25. And Mr. Speaker, I've told you, there is where we have, this is the average ratio. I have cases of 1:80, Mr. Speaker. The challenges in human resource, the sector suffers greatly from insufficient skilled labor or skilled manpower. Many PP teachers are not trained to handle young children, and historically, PP runners were often school dropouts. Moreover, the sector lacks proper training guidelines. It only recently that universities and colleges began offering courses for pre-primary teachers. Additionally, teachers' training is poorly funded, limiting exposure to new curriculum content and pedagogical concerns. Mr. Speaker, there are discrepancies between government policies and practices. There are significant gap between government policies and practices in ECD sector. While the government expects high quality education funding is limited, and many curriculum implementers, that is teachers, are inadequately trained since devolution. the county has allocated minimum funds to ECD centers. This cannot be emphasized. There is limited supervision, monitoring, and evaluation of pre-primary program and activities. Mr. Speaker, the committee made its observations and findings, and that pursuant to Article 185.4 of the Constitution, led together with Standing Order 205 of the Standing Orders, the committee scrutinized the Nyandarua County Capitation Policy for Early Childhood Education 2024 and made the following observation. Number one, Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Article 185.4 of the Constitution as read, together with the Standing Order 205B of the Standing Orders, the committee examined Nyandarua County Capitation Policy for Early Childhood Education 2024 and drew the following observation. The title should be amended to read the Nyandarua County Primary Policy 2024, aligning it with Part B of the 4th Schedule of the Constitution and the new education system, the CBC system. 3, the definition of department should be revised to refer specifically to the department in charge of ECD education, ensure clarity and future-proofing against potential changes in departmental structure, and the term executive member should be included in the definition of terms. The term chief officer should be included in the definition of terms. Allocation across various vote heads be guided by specific guidelines set forth by the CC member. There is a need for review the percentages for contribution between the county government, parents when determining school fees payable in pre-primary schools. And we have a paragraph 2.2, capitation vote heads. Members, you can see it in your laptop, in your desktops. The feeding program should be categorized as part of the operation and not an independent vote head, should be indicated as such. The CCM should ensure rational and equitable distribution of capitation fund. Sub-vote heads to ensure efficient utilization. The CCM should ensure rational between percentages paid by capital government and parents. On composition of the pre-primary management committee, the head teacher of the whole school should be included in the management committee as an ex officio member with no voting rights, since you know these are devolved functions. On roles of county offices in management of ECD capitation, the head should be amended to read. The heading should be amended to read roles and responsibilities. The roles of CCM should be amended to include allocate, approve pre-primary capitation funds, and implement and review the policy. The county's treasury should ensure the existence of special purpose account for ECD capitation. Another role of the CCM should be added for determining fees in public pre-primary school. Collaboration and partnership in funding PP education should be encouraged. And function 15 should be deleted as it overlaps with departmental responsibilities, and county assembly functions should be expanded to include appropriating primary capitation funds and monitoring and oversight of appropriate funds. So, Honorable Speaker, the committee, having considered and thoroughly scrutinized the Nyandarua Capitation Policy Guidelines for ECD 2024, recommends that 1. Pursuant to the Article 185.4 of the Constitution, read together with the Standing Order 205B of the Standing Orders, this House does approve the Nyandarua Capitation Policy Guidelines for Early Childhood Education with the amendment as contained in Chapter 3 of this report. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, I would like to leave this esteemed House with the words of the indomitable Nelson Mandela, who once stated, "There cannot be no keener revelation of a society's souls than the way in which it treats its children." We should be concerned with how we are dealing with our children, Mr. Speaker. It is therefore incumbent upon all the members to reflect deeply on their concerns and make a conscious decision to treat our pre-primary schools with dignity, decorum, and decency, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I would urge the honorable members, as they have reasoned to the report that has been prepared by the committee. Mr. Speaker, this is a golden opportunity, Mr. Speaker. This is one of the things which we can make as a county and become a benchmarking county on how ECD education should be treated, Mr. Speaker. We will get an opportunity. We have been lacking an opportunity where we would use the irreducible minimums that we get, because in this house, there is what members get as the irreducible minimum. Mr. Speaker, there are so many anomalies we can be able to correct with that. There are so many ECD, semi-permanent ECD centers, Mr. Speaker. You could not cement them because for the regulations of the county government, you have to do permanent structures, Mr. Speaker. These toilets, which are almost falling apart, Mr. Speaker, we can have some remedies. If used our irreducible minimum to give to ECD centers of capitation, and I'm sure the honorable member for Gadanje, Honorable Kuriadur, will be able to inject his irreducible minimum with Honorable Denji here. Because some of these words, Mr. Speaker, let me give just two examples, Mr. Speaker. The Nyandarua Central Ward, Mr. Speaker, with more than 30 primary schools, even if Honorable Kagwe was to be elected for 50 years in this house, he will not clear doing his ECD center. Honorable Kongo has decided now to serve a bigger constituency. That is Kipipiri constituency. But I'm sure, even as it is Wajohi Ward, he's sure he cannot be able to do all the ECD centers. But we can get some remedies, Mr. Speaker. We can get some remedies through our irreducible minimum, Mr. Speaker. There is some change we can make, Mr. Speaker. And I'm telling you, with this capitation policy, Mr. Speaker, you are, as a speaker, in your 5 years, Mr. Speaker, before we think of promoting you or even giving you back your seat, you will have left a legacy in this house, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge the honorable members to start with this report. It is for the betterment of our future. And with that, Mr. Speaker, thank you, and I call my able deputy chair, Honorable Patience Manga, to second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, I do second.
I propose the question. Which is that this House does adopt the report of the Committee on Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services on the Nyandarua County Capitation Policy Guidelines for Early Childhood Education 2024 as a report of the House, and the recommendation therein as the resolution of the House. Yes, Honorable Matino.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for granting me this opportunity as a member of this committee. One, to really thank you together with the entire assembly for allowing us as a committee to sit down and come up with this policy. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would just would wish to be very brief on the same. Mr. Speaker, sir, as the chair has just mentioned, from whatever is happening, I think in the entire nation, most counties are not giving ECD centers and ECD education the attention that it deserves, in the Speaker, sir. It has just been mentioned, and even from the capitation that we have, we are giving one child in the ECD center 400 shillings. I want us to ask ourselves, the Speaker, sir, how much do we allocate to one student in a day school in our areas, Mr. Speaker, sir? It's a high time that we put keen interest to ECD centers that it's a devolved function. Because I don't understand why, Mr. Speaker, sir, as county governments, we are running to fund schools that are under national government, that is high school and day schools. whereas the function that really belongs to us, we as county government, we are underfunding the same, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I've taken a very good sample. And if you look at what we've been giving the ECD centers from the year from the financial year 2019, 2020 to the year 2023 and 2024, Mr. Speaker, sir, it clearly shows you that there has been a big disconnect, Mr. Speaker, sir. I've just taken one sample, Mr. Speaker, sir, the year 2020, the year 2021 financial year. The amount of money that was allocated to ECD centers was 38,300,000, Mr. Speaker, sir. Whereas the allocation that we got as a county was an amount almost amounting to 8 billion shillings. In fact, to be precise, it's 7.8 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker, sir. If you get the percentage of the same, the amount in this particular financial year, 2020-2021, that we allocated to ECD centers, that is a default function, is 0.5% of the total allocation, Mr. Speaker, sir. What does it tell us? Is that we are underfunding this default function, which is very paramount to the growth of our children, Mr. Speaker, sir. We don't have adequate infrastructure in these ECD centers, Mr. Speaker, sir. Even payment of the staff and even teachers in the ECD centers, again, is still unwanting. Just look at the job groups in some of the teachers in these centers. They are underpaid. 198 teachers are still on contract basis, Mr. Speaker, sir. I've also done something, Mr. Speaker, sir. According to the way things should be, one teacher should be serving 25 students in one class. But in our case in Nyandarua County, we are having a situation whereby, if you take, for example, the year 2023-2024, whereby the students that we have in our ICD schools are 24,658,000. If you divide that by the number of teachers that we have, 554, you will find that one teacher is serving 45 students. What does that amount to? And I think I thank the chair, because he has actually mentioned the same, is that we are having a situation whereby we are not offering quality education to our ECD learners. And you see, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is where growth starts. I don't know how true it is. I believe Honorable Kongo will be telling us about the brain growth of 3/4 and I think 1/4. We leave that to Honorable Kongo to explain to us whether it's logically true. But you find that, Mr. Speaker, sir, if at this stage a child is not well brought up, even in future as this child grows, he or she will not grow in the best way possible. I call upon us as a county that in the coming financial year, Mr. Speaker, sir, let's allocate more funds to improve on infrastructure of our ICD centers, improve on the sitting standards of our ICD centers, Mr. Speaker, sir, improve the payment that we pay our ECD teachers and those who are on contract basis, Mr. Speaker, sir. It's not hard for us, as much as the wage bill is high. The amount that we are paying them on terms of contract, I believe we just need to add a smaller amount to have them on permanent and pensionable basis, Mr. Speaker, sir. And again, because these are a devolved function, we need to do something very important to increase the number of teachers so that the contact hours on one teacher can be effective to each and every student that are in this ECD centers, Mr. Speaker, sir. With that, I support the amendment and the motion as it has been tabled, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Matimo. Can I have Honorable Kumu?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First, I want to appreciate the committee for some good work. And I also want to appreciate the chairman for being passionate about our ECD pupils. He has represented a very passionate report. I've been able to interact with the policy as prepared by the executive. But Honorable Speaker, I would like to say, this may not be able to heal the many ills and challenges that we have within our ECD. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to overemphasize on the need of having our ECD funded adequately. I don't want to overemphasize on the need and the role the ECDs plays on our education system and also in the growth of our children, because it is all known, it is the foundation. The kind of environment we give to our children, we'll be able to know or we'll be able to tell whether we are fostering our children to have education even in the future. It is at this level when our children are developing the cognitive skills and all that. And if you are not careful, we might end up having kids that are not good, have no good foundation for academic excellence in the future if they are not founded well. But basically, as the chairman budget, I would like not to deal much with the issue of the need to have good infrastructure and all that. But I'm concerned about the policy, Honorable Speaker. Today we have a very conflicting policy on the ECD. To my belief and what I believe at a personal level, this may not be the feeling of the county government. I believe that the ECD should not have been devolved. According to Article 43 of our Constitution, basic education, or we have right, one of the socio-economic rights is right to education. And we are struggling today, Honorable Speaker, on the nexus between the basic education in our ECDs and the primary education at our primary school. You realize today, as we are sitting here, Honorable Speaker, there was a policy that indicated that each ECD should be hosted within the primary schools. You will also realize that our head teachers in the primary schools have got a bigger role to play within our ECDs. And generally, even as we say that it is our directorate or our directors who run our ECDs are run by the head teachers of the primary schools, and each and every primary school, even those that are outside the compound of primary schools, are subjected to a certain primary school within the area. And these head teachers have a very big role. And this brings a challenge, because the primary schools are under the national government, and the ECD now are under the county government. And these teachers are subjected. For example, when it comes to the development of the human resource, who trains the ECD teachers? It is at the national level. Who prepares the curriculum? It is at the national level. Who, for example, it is under the TSC. It is the one that trains the teacher. They are the one who are subjected with the issues of curriculum. And for us, we were left with the role of just doing the infrastructure bit of it. And we never really know how it comes in. For example, Honorable Speaker, I can attest even in my ward, I have done a classroom, a very good classroom for ECD teachers. But currently, it is a classroom which is being hosting the junior secondary. When the junior secondary was introduced, the head teacher and the primary teacher committee looked at the best class they could give to the junior secondary, and they took away the ECD class, and they give it to the junior secondary. And these are some of the issues, the challenges of policy and management that I'm talking about, even as we go to the issue of capitation and giving money to this. The other thing I want to ask within this policy, we will be giving capitation, of which I support. We have an independent committee, each and every, I have seen they have indicated how the committee will be formed. Each and every ECD will have a committee. They have given the signatories. We will open a special purpose account. We will put that money there. Have we addressed the issue of procurement? How are the procurement going to be done by those committees? Have we also asked ourselves how the audit will be done, because this is public money. Who will be auditing these committees at the ECD level? Because this is a challenge I'm fighting myself. We have an ECD called Muthagira in my area. We have given that parent, that committee, and the ECD teacher money. Go and utilize. Come up with a budget for your ECD. How will this money audited both at the county level and the Kenya National Audit? Because this is an issue that we going to find ourselves later struggling with, Honorable Speaker. So I think the issue of funding ECD is very crucial. And it is an issue that requires a perspective not only as a county, but as a larger council of governors. We have been struggling with the issue of employment. And it is only when the council of governors came together and they were able to prepare what we call the scheme of service for our ECD teacher, that right now the counties are able to employ our ECD teachers at a permanent and pensionable scheme. That is what is happening. And you realize that even in Nyandarua County, we have not been able to employ all of them. Actually, we are doing something that is called, we are abusing the labor rules, because we have ECD teachers that are paid doing the same job, but are paid at the 3 categories. There are those who are the permanent and pensionable. There are those at the stipend of 10,000. There are others who are given nothing. They are being paid by the parents. And I think that is not the way we are supposed to be addressing the issues of the ECD. So, Honorable Speaker, I'm asking myself this question. How are we going to implement this capitation at that level? Because the committee have a benchmark where they can tell we going to this county and this is how the capitation is happening? Will the treasury allow that money to go at that committee bank account so that it can be utilized at that level? What are the measures that we have been able to put? And then I also want to tell the committee, we support and we feel that this should not be even an issue of irreducible minimum, because we don't want a situation whereby some of the kids are benefiting from some wards and others are not benefiting. It should be a flagship project under the county, and we agree each and every pupil is supposed to be given 2,000, 4,000 or 5,000, and this money should do the following. And then what is the teacher? What is the parent supposed to pay? What is happening in our day schools today? Each and every student in our day school for basic education is given a capitation by the national government of around 16. I think currently it's around 16,000. It was 22, but it was reduced to 16,000 every year. But then there is money that is paid by the parent, which they call the lunch program and other activities. Then we need to agree and even harmonize. We come up with a policy, and I expected this policy to harmonize. You realize, Honorable Speaker, what a parent pays in Muthagira ECD in Wanjohi is not what a parent is paying here in Orokarau ECD. There is variation. Are we harmonizing this? We say, for a county, we will be giving 2,000 for capitation every year. But we also harmonize and say, each and every pupil for ECD in Nyandarua will be paying 4,000, whether it is in Daragwa, whether it is in Jabini. And this is what the money will do. We will pay the teacher. The money will do the construction and infrastructure development. They will buy playing materials. They will do several. They will provide lunch program or a one meal for the pupils. But then the way it has been left, it has not been able to answer some of these challenges. For example, we will give 400. Then some may decide to buy playing materials. Others may decide to construct a toilet. Others may decide to. So we need to be specific on how this capitation will be run, and I think it is not coming out very clearly. But I also agree with the department, it's a bigger challenge that requires a bigger approach. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, I support, but I think we need...
Point of information, Mr. Speaker, sir. To the member or to the House? To the House and to the member. May I proceed? Mr. Speaker, sir, I would just wish to inform our very able and learned friend, Honorable Kongo, that we have already a policy that runs. Honorable Matimo, what is the meaning of that word, learned friend?
Is a learned friend is someone who can advise you according to.
No, he's not learned. He's educated.
Educated. Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Speaker, sir.
For purposes of understanding, a learned friend is a term applied to the clergy and the lawyers. And the whole idea is they receive a lot of information from the public. A priest will receive all manner of information from medical issues, family issues, to advise along a religious line. A lawyer will receive so many issues, construction issues, medical issues, so that to litigate. That's why they learn a lot. So Honorable Kumu is not learned at all. He's very educated. Proceed.
Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Speaker, sir. My educated friend, I was saying that we have already a policy that is in place that runs the polytechnics, and the chief officer is the accounting officer. So the same case will be applying to this fund. The same way that the vocational centers capitation is done. You know that most of the vocational trainings receive 15,000 per student or per year, and the chief officer of that particular department is the one who accounts for the same. Then for the amount, I think in the same, there's a guideline on the 400, how it will be spent. It will not be just for the school or for the ECD center to decide. There's a guideline on how the 400 shillings is broken down. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Matimu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for that information. But I would like to say this, and I like the members to see this as a bigger picture as I conclude, because I don't want to take a lot of time. For Polytechnic, I agree. Maybe we have 25 to 30 polytechnics in this county. In Wajohi alone, I have 46 ECDs. So you can see the kind of work we are talking about. The number of ECDs I have in Wajohi are many than the number of polytechnic in the whole county. So when we talk about auditing those accounts, we are talking of so many accounts in this county. The other thing I want to say is this. I want the members to reflect what is happening in our ICT. And this is what I want the Assembly and the Executive to hear. What is the cost of taking your kid in ECD in Kinangop compared with Kipipiri, compared even with Nyandarua? Not even go far. What is the cost of taking my kid in ECD, in Gezogori ECD, versus Mudagira ECD? In Wajohi, you realize one parent in Mudagira paying 2,000 for a term, and another parent still in Wajohi in another ECD paying 4,000. And I think these are the issues that we should be addressing according to the Constitution, because it is a basic right for each and every kid to get education. We want a situation whereby we have a common salary for our ECD teacher across the county, and a kid paying the same amount in Nyandarua, in Jabini, in Wajohi, everywhere, because we have put proper policies, and this is what the capitation should be coming to hear. Honorable Speaker, if I am not wrong, I want to give an equal opportunity to a kid anywhere in Nyandarua to access education. But I don't think this is hearing. We are just giving money to ECDs, but I don't think it is hitting or filling the gap that is already filled. And within this capitation, this is what I expected to see. We have done a study, we have done a research, and even though we don't have enough money to give for capitation this financial year, we are projecting that we need to give a capitation of 4,000 or 5,000 per kid in Nyandarua so that we can harmonize. We may not be able to do it today, but we may be focusing and we may be advising the governor, this is the way and this is where we want to go. That is what I'm looking within the issue of capitation. Because capitation means what? Government is chipping in to make education cheaper and affordable to our vulnerable people, and giving equal opportunity to every kid in this county. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kumo. Thank you for the passionate debate. In fact, I noted that Honorable Matimu, the point of information, made you double your debate, which is critical. We have Honorable Mbai, Honorable Muhindi. Let us start with Honorable Mbai. Come to Muhindi, then over to Honorable Denji.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As a member of the said committee, I raise to support this policy. As we all know that solution is found when we all come with a strategy. And I believe that now we have started a journey that will solve the challenges that have been affecting our early childhood, and especially because we have been having a lot of problems, and especially when you find that the ECDs are under control of the head teachers. And as you understand that there is not all head teachers who have goodwill of ensuring that we improve our children, and especially if you can go to some of the ECDs where you find there is many head teachers who have been using ECDs as a cash cow. It is the highest time we come with this kind of policy that will help the county to take a full control of the ECDs, and where the teachers, ECD teachers, will be held accountable, especially when we allocate fund for the same. You realize that, and I understand Honorable Johi when he talks about how the money or the resources that will be allocated will be audited. As we deal and work on ensuring that the audit and the money will be used in the right way, you realize that, like I'll give an example of one ECD called Momoi. Last year in Supplementary 2, I allocated 400,000, just the money that was meant to work for, to maintain the flow of the ECD that is in a very bad state. It was not procured because of the time limit, because it was in Supplementary 2, and it could not meet the time limit of the financial year, and it was locked out. I could not introduce the same amount to the main budget, so I had to wait for Supplementary 1. Now you can imagine if the money was there in the allocated as part of the capitation, or if the money was there, and the in charge, the committee in charge, and the ECD teacher of the
point of information, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, to the member, to the House.
To the committee, there is about some clarification you would like, according to the way the debate is proceeding.
Okay, proceed.
Honorable Speaker, I've heard the chair say that a member can allocate money to build a class in capitation. And I think that is also what the Honorable Bae is repeating. I would like to understand whether you are implying that through capitation, members now will be putting money for infrastructure, for building the classes and all that as part of capitation. Will we be treating money for ECDs, construction and all that as capitation? Or is it capitation a flagship where we are saying each and every kid is entitled to this money? For example, Honorable Speaker, does it mean now that Honorable Bae in this financial year can put 400 and say it is part of capitation of Momoi ECD? Is it what this policy is insinuating?
Honorable Chair Gadungo, respond to that as the Honorable Mbai proceed. Respond to that first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, there are myriad of challenges which is facing our ECD centers. And Mr. Speaker, in my response, because I was to respond to Honorable Kongo, is that this amount with Honorable Kongo, despite the fact that it was not in the report, it will have 4 heads, Mr. Speaker. Those 4 heads, Mr. Speaker, will indicate how much can go to each and every vote head, Mr. Speaker. And these 4 heads, Mr. Speaker, 60% is to go for tuition, Mr. Speaker. And 40%, Mr. Speaker, is to go for operations. And this will not only guide the 400 shillings that we are giving in this financial year, it will guide the amount that will be allocated to these ECD centers, even in future, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, what I was insinuating is, Mr. Speaker, there are issues which might never be addressed by the allocations that we give, Mr. Speaker. Like this, Mr. Speaker, if you have a wooden toilet, Mr. Speaker, the county government cannot procure for that ECD toilet to be, maybe it needs some concrete floor, Mr. Speaker, to make it more habitable, Mr. Speaker. And as I said when I was moving this motion, I said, extraordinary times for cause for extraordinary measures, Mr. Speaker. If through the computation, Mr. Speaker, these shameful ECD centers would have those concrete floors, Mr. Speaker. We have classes, semi-permanent classes, Mr. Speaker, which maybe even the Honorable Kungu studied in them, Mr. Speaker, because the ECD centers which I was in is still studying, Mr. Speaker, a wooden one, Mr. Speaker, but maybe it needs some facelift. As I have told you, we have challenges of classes. When we were passing the Constitution in the year 2010, Mr. Speaker, we had only one ECD class, which used to be called the nursery school class, Mr. Speaker. But things have changed. Each primary school, I've told you, like the Honorable Mwangi Kagwe, has almost 30 primary schools. That means he needs some other 30 nursery schools, Mr. Speaker. And that is why I'm saying this policy is not cast in stone. It can be amended, Mr. Speaker. We just want to achieve what is doable and cure the current situation, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mbai, you can proceed. I wanted the chair to guide you because the question that chair had asked has got a bearing in the debate. That's why I did not wait for him.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Respond during the response. Proceed.
I think he has answered very well. You know, there is those kind of small diseases that does not require a specialist. They can be attended by those people who are there, instead of waiting for many years, waiting for main budget. You know, there is those small things that can be attended by. That's why we are saying, as we allocate the money for capitation, or as we support, we need also to have a little amount that can fix a small problem that cannot wait the main budget or cannot wait the huge amount. So for me, I support, and I start with that, and I believe that we are now in that high gear of ensuring that we bring solution to that challenges that have been affecting, as well ensuring that we have teachers who can, because we are keeping on building new ECDs, because as you have as the report has indicated, from the time of COVID, many kids are born, and it is a clear indication that we used to have 1,900, now we have about 2,600, and next few years at least we'll have a bigger number. So we need to ensure that we prepare the background of the same. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support.
Honorable Muhindi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Maybe I will begin by appreciating the Honorable Stephen Matimu, because it's very hard for somebody to inform the chair of the budget committee in this house, and so he has given us confidence on informing the Honorable Congo whenever debate is going on. That was a very good move. And
yes, what is the point of order, Honorable Congo?
I don't know what the Honorable Muhindi tried to insinuate. I have always been informed in this office so many times, and I think I'm the one who I receive it very well every time I'm being informed in this house. Maybe he can speak on his own behalf if he has never informed me.
So, Honorable Muhindi, proceed along the line of debate. Otherwise, you may discourage some members from informing Chair Budget. Yet he is not arrogant when he is informed. Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Number one is on the issue that the Honorable Congo has raised on the audit and procurement process. I believe it is once you establish a committee, They are the guidelines that are around. They are supposed to follow the public procurement laws, and the accounts shall be established. Number 2, Chair, Honorable Speaker, I would seek to urge the Chair of the Education Committee, because the issue of head teachers and management of nursery schools has been ongoing for a very long time. There is the Intergovernmental Technical Committee that is going around the country to ensure that we achieve full devolution. There are certain functions of county governments that have been with the national government. So I would encourage the Education Committee to go to meet with the Intergovernmental Technical Committee so that they can go out those issues on the complete transfer of ECDs, because it's a completely devolved function. Once you put the head teacher there, in terms of the law, it brings other issues. So I would urge the committee to look in that. Another thing is I would urge the Education Committee. Capitation, as Honorable Kungo is saying, capitation should be from the main budget. I don't understand why we give secondary schools that have a capitation of over 10,000 bursaries, but we don't give ECDs bursaries, unless we look at the length and the breadth of a person. And so we don't give bursaries because these are small people. But legally, the people we should be giving bursaries are ECDE and technical and they are called rural polytechnics or village polytechnics. Those are the ones that are devolved functions. So we are giving money to build schools. We give alliance. If you go and look at the money that we gave as a whole county, the bursaries you gave, you will find cumulatively, maybe we gave alliance 1 million. We are building alliance. But you go to an ECDE, Roshegeshi in Magumu has no teacher. You go to an ECD in Malewa, I think it's Malewa Primary in Kipipiri constituency, there is a very big hole in the toilets. A kid can disappear. If you, Mr. Speaker, you look at the pictures they have given, even the Honorable Maria was asking me, would a kid disappear underneath these things? Where are we building other schools? We are giving them bursary. Let the capitation be there, Chair of Education, and then let us also amend the law to allow for bursaries for ECDE students, so that if a school has 30 kids, you decide you will give them 1,000 each. That is 30,000. They will buy window panes. They will do something else. But we cannot keep on treating ECDE as lesser kids. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let's have Honorable Benji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance to support, because I'm to support the report. Mr. Speaker, the ECD is purely under the county government, and this is not the time to say that if it were in the national government. It is now then our opportunity, as it has come to the assembly, to either look at the problems that we have been facing. Mr. Speaker, as I support this report, there has been so many conflicts in the ECD, between the ECD and the primary schools, which are supposed to be in the national government. And I agree with Honorable Kono that when we are dealing with this issue of the ECD, it should be amended in favor of the ECD. Mr. Speaker, you see some of when we are, this is the basic education, and this is when we put a lot of mentality to our children that school is good, to be educated, to go to school is good. Mr. Speaker, the facilities, that is the toilets, is very poor because people never allocate even money in those facilities. There is a lot of congestion even in some of the ECDs, and even to a level whereby you get people sitting on the ground and even on the sacks. Mr. Speaker, I find it very correct to say that this is our time as this assembly. It is today, not tomorrow now. We start amending what is better for our children, because we are like we do like when it's like a married man. You have married a wife, and then you are assisting another wife there, lady there outside. We have abandoned the duties of the ECD, Mr. Speaker, and I therefore support this report, Mr. Speaker, on the grounds that the county government to undertake the duties of the ECD, which is its burden. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Denji, and proceed, Honorable Iba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. First, I would like to commend the Committee on Education for coming up with a foundation policy concerning the foundation of education in this county, whereby we have been working without a proper policy, and they have come at the right time when we have been having several challenges. First, like now, we have even ECDs without proper management guidelines, where you see the person who determines who is going to pay the fees we have to pay within the ECDs level in primary schools. They are head teachers. At this time, we are giving capitation to these schools. And I have seen from this policy that we are going to have the chief officers who are there, they will be the accounting officer for this capitation. By FASU, they are the county accounting officers. Also, in the policy, I have seen that we are going to get proper guidelines on fees payments through the wasiri in the department. We are going to give the guidance of how much is going to be paid within these ECDs. This now is going to lock out the head teachers who have been coming with their own structures within their specific primary schools. And with this policy, it's a starting point that's going to guide this county to also come up with more funding to our primary role of supporting the ECDs and the ECD education within the county. And I therefore, as I conclude, commend the committee for start getting the first step, that we have funds already in the budget, and it's also an eye-opener to us in this assembly. That's when we are going to be doing the budgeting. We go for more funding so that these funds can also give value to our ECD students, pupils, and also infrastructure within the ECD centers. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I commend and I do support this policy and it's a good policy, and I commend the committee. And for that, I call the mover.
Yes.
To respond.
Honorable Gadungu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I will start by appreciating each and every member who has contributed in support, because all of them have contributed in support. And I would like to tell the honorable members that this is a sacred duty that we are doing to our kids and to our great county of Nyandarua, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kongo has observed that I've said that these policy is not cast in stone. We shall keep improving and we shall build structures, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kongo has talked about this capitation and said that it should be treated as a flagship project. And I'm sure the honorable members in this house, this is the high time that as a Department of Education, we have said ECD is devolved. And I would challenge the executive because we need hospitals. We need JM Hospital as early as yesterday. But Mr. Speaker, look at this situation here. JM Hospital receives 200 million shillings, Mr. Speaker. ECDE, and that is in 1 year, Mr. Speaker. ECDE centers receives 44 million shillings in 4 financial years, Mr. Speaker. Are we being fair? I want to tell you, Mr. Speaker, for someone from Karampton, chances are they will leave this earth without knowing that JM exists. Someone from Magumu, maybe will never know we have Engineer Hospital, despite the amount that the governor is putting in those functions, because what is there, a sick person from a ward will even go to the neighboring county, Nyahururu District Hospital, other than coming to JM, considering there is cost of fare and everything, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, in short, what I'm saying, and honorable members, this is what we ought to be sitting with the governor, because I feel we need
meeting with the governor and tell him, now this is the high time that we treated ECD centers as a devolved function. If we made it a flagship project, Mr. Speaker, get like 200 million, Mr. Speaker. This is a problem it would be a problem solved. And when you build an ECD center, Mr. Speaker, you know when that ECD is done, Mr. Speaker, it is not like a road. It doesn't need to be repaired within the next 2 years. We have seen schools where even veteran members of the society, the class, which may be someone like Kamodo, JJ Kamodo, or Meshoki, who have long left this world. I'm sure the classes they were in, if they were permanent, they still exist. But the Maram Road, which was done during that time, it cannot even be said it was Marammed if it has never been repeated, Mr. Speaker. So these are things we are doing once and for all. And Mr. Speaker, I had explained on the vote heads, so that will not be a big issue. And I also want to say that the CCM for education is the one to determine the fees to be paid in all the ECD centers. And Honorable Muhende, don't know whether he's still in the house. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Muhende has observed the issue of head teachers managing these funds. And on head teachers, we agree that they are hosting us, but we agreed they are not the ones who will be managing these funds. But since they are like the managers of, let us look at an example, Mr. Speaker, of Uhuru Primary School, Mr. Speaker. Uhuru is in Orjorok, Mr. Speaker. In Uhuru Primary School, maybe the ECD center has been donated a class by the head teacher. And then you want to manage that class without involving the head teacher. It is not possible, Mr. Speaker. We agreed the head teachers to be ex-officio members. In years to come, when we are self-sustained, maybe we can take up the management. But as the situation stands, the head teachers have to be there because they are helping us even manage satellite ECD centers. Satellite ECD centers are, I'll give you an example still of Uhuru Primary School. Maybe at Uhuru Primary Schools, there is another center somewhere. Like, let me tell you about Gaidedia Primary School. Gaidedia Primary School is one of the biggest primary schools we have in my ward. But it has two satellite ECD centers. We have Inoro ECD Center and we have Kwajora ECD Center. Those are centers which are far outside the primary school, maybe even 2-3 kilometers from the primary school. The parents decided they need an ECD center there because kids could not move to the major school, and then they go to that primary school. Those centers are still managed by the head teachers, so we can't do away with them, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I have Mohinde has left. He had a very funny ECD center from his place, Rushageshi. I have heard that name today, Mr. Speaker. Never heard about it for the years I've been in this world, Mr. Speaker. I believe it must be in Kenton. But even those kids in Rushageshi should be treated equally with all the other kids. And this capitation is going to bring that equality that we are looking at. And also for Honorable Deji, who has enthusiastically contributed to this debate. He's talking about the toilets which are in deplorable state, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I repeat again. Extraordinary times calls for extraordinary measures. With this capitation, Mr. Speaker, we shall be wiser and we shall know how we are going to solve the myriad of issues which is bedeviling our ECD centers. Honorable Ifura, Honorable Muridi Steve, aka Farouk. We have really taken your contribution and we really appreciate the contribution that we have made. And honorable members, passing this motion, you shall be remembered. We are leaving a legacy. We shall develop on it as time goes by. And I'm sure, just as Mr. Speaker, the Education Committee is doing great things in this assembly and in this county. This is another milestone, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I now put the question, which is that this House does adopt the report of the Committee on Education, Children, Gender Affairs, Culture and Social Services on the Nyandarua County Capitation Policy Guidelines for Early Childhood Education 2024 as a report of the House and the recommendations therein as a resolution of the House. May those of a similar opinion say aye. May those of a contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. Clerk, next order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we've exhausted the business as indicated in the afternoon session's order paper.
There being no other business to transact under this sitting, I now adjourn the House to Tuesday, the 23rd day of April, 2024 at 9:30 a.m.